As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Zero to Hero across all of our channels. This is episode 13. I am excited today. I have Lauren Conway here with Innovate Her KC. And Lauren, I know that you're doing great things for the women in Kansas City, but I would love for you to share more about that and what you are doing here in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, so first of all, thank you so much for having me on here today. When you approached me, I got really excited because I've definitely seen the podcast come through on social. So really happy to be here. So here's I'm going to give the 1-minute pitch, and then I can give more context as needed. But here's kind of what we have it down to. So Innovate Her KC is a women's leadership community here in the Kansas City area. We have, last time I checked, we had 3,463 members. Our members tend to fall into the verticals of entrepreneurship, community advocacy, civic leadership, education, and the arts, but we certainly have members who fall outside of that. Everything we do, we approach with a lens on inclusion and belonging and low barrier to entry. So those things are really, really important to us and important to our members. And we serve our members through what we call our 6 pillars of action. And those are social connection, professional development, amplification of work, championship, mentorship, and resource sharing. So that is what we do kind of at the broad view. As far as tactics, we have a lot of events, connection events, professional development events for our members. We have resources like the Kansas City Diverse Speaker Directory, the Women-Led Business Directory. We have a partnership with PlexPod, so we're able to offer our members co-working space at a super reasonable rate. So we just have a lot of programs, and really fundamentally what we're trying to do is we're trying to help women leaders in the Kansas City area become better, stronger, more efficient, more connected, and more supported.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I've heard a lot about you guys, but like actually being able to meet you and hear about it in person. I haven't had a chance to be a part of any of the activities yet. I'm looking forward to that. I don't know how much you guys are able to do right now with all that's going on. I know a lot of things are online. So what does that look like for you right now with supporting these women and having this, kind of this pandemic kind of throw a damper on a lot of the social stuff?
Well, so I don't want to understate or have anybody misunderstand. The pandemic has adversely affected so many. It's just a really tough time all the way around right now. Innovate Her KC, though, we were actually pretty fortunate through all of this because with a focus on low barrier to entry, one barrier tends to be geography. So, if you don't have a vehicle or if you don't have a means to travel and all of these events are happening in the crossroads or, downtown and you're not near there, that's difficult. And so a lot of what we were already doing was virtual. And so we're kind of practiced hands at it and we have been for a while. One of the most impactful pieces of our programming is our virtual community, and that lives on Facebook. That's where most of our members live. That's where a lot of our members make those connections and find that support and ask those questions. And so that was already online. We already had events that were happening online. So it was a fairly simple process for us to just take what we were doing in person and translate that to the virtual environment. So we were pretty lucky in that regard.
That is awesome. That is awesome to think about. I never thought about that, but it's true that different people have different situations and different demographics. Even Kansas City is pretty big when you think about all the surrounding areas, and Lee Summit, Blue Springs, Grain Valley, all these different areas. For those who aren't from Kansas City, most cities have their suburbs. And so if somebody doesn't have a vehicle, but they want to be a part, or they want to grow, in their sense of business, or support other women in the business world, then that's so cool. I love that. I actually did not know that a lot of your stuff was online. And and that's why I was excited. I was like, I'm going to take the opportunity today to really get to know Lauren and what she does and what she's about, and really broadcast that to everybody. Yes, because we have people all over the globe watching right now, but we also have, a lot of Kansas City people that can tune in across our channels. And so I want them to know more about you and what you guys do. So I just want to stop here really quick and say thank you to some of my favorite people here on LinkedIn as well. Jeanette, thank you for joining us. Ashish, thank you so much. Your support means a lot, so we appreciate that. So thank you guys so much. And let's move on to this next question, Lauren. In a couple sentences, give me an elevator pitch about you. Like, who is Lauren Conway?
Whew. Oh man, we're going right in for the tough stuff.
That's right.
So I don't know. I mean, as an individual, I'm a dreamer. I'm pretty ambitious. I love to help people. I love to connect with people. I think when people ask, sometimes people ask, and you might actually ask this later, but they ask me, what's your superpower? My superpower is connection. Whenever I talk to somebody and they're saying that they are experiencing difficulties, or they're immediately my mind starts running through the mental Rolodex. Who can help? What resources are available? So I think first and foremost, that's kind of who I am. I love trivia. I play Jeopardy every day. I'm a big geek. But yeah, I am a connector, and I love people. I love women. Some of the most amazing heroes I have in my life, who have served as mentors and examples and inspirations to me, are women. And so that's where my heart for all of this comes from. One of the greatest descriptors that somebody ever ascribed to me, and it just made me so proud. They said that I was a servant leader. And I just think that is a huge compliment. And so that's how I kind of try to approach my work in my life. Like, how can I better serve? How can I deepen impact and make things better and easier for women who are dealing with difficult circumstances, or who have had journeys similar to mine? So yeah, I love that. Another way that someone else described me, and I love this, and it makes me laugh every single time, but somebody described me as whimsical with jazz. And I was like, I don't even know what that means, but for whatever reason, I love it. So I mean, I don't know how much of a nutshell that was. It was like a big nutshell. But that's kind of the core of who I am.
That is, I really love that, because I think a lot of women desire, especially, I mean, men like to be connected, but a lot of women actually crave that, desire that, need that in order to function in our lives. That's just the way we're made. And I think a lot of us, I have a heart for women, but sometimes we don't know how to help. We don't
Yeah.
know where we can get involved or where we could actually make an impact. And so I love that you just like built this network and you saw a need and you you launched this thing and you're like, I'm going to help. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to open up avenues that women in the city never thought were possible. And so I love that, because then you're giving other people, other women like us, a chance to say, hey, where can we help?
Yeah.
Could we mentor someone, or maybe we need the connection. So
Yeah.
I think I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think a lot of the greats are nuts, but it can be, yeah, it can be like, I think it's a good thing to be whimsical and to be, to have that jazz in your step and to be able to think outside of the box,
Yeah.
So anyway, so I love that. I actually love that. I'm probably a nut too, because I play those type of games on my phone all the time, always challenging my brain.
Yeah.
So in this, in your journey, especially with Innovate Her KC, and even on a personal level, please tell us about your social media journey, like how it started and how it got to this point. What's that been like?
So that's actually really interesting. So Innovate Her KC, we've got a what I would consider a decently deep digital footprint. When we talk about our pillars of action, amplification of work and championship, a lot of that happens on social media for us. But my social media journey actually started many, 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 many years ago, and I'm about to make myself sound real old. But back in like the 2000s, early 2000s, up to like 2008, when Twitter was becoming a thing and Facebook was like becoming more popular, I actually, when I was in college, I actually started an arts and entertainment blog site for St. Louis. That's actually where I'm from originally. And these are back in the days of like LiveJournal and Zanga and like all of those really like old school social media tools that only old people know about. And I started out with this website that we were creating, and the intent was for it to be an online webzine. I don't know if you're familiar with zines, but it's like an old cut and paste, very alternative indie style of magazine, essentially. And we wanted to create the same experience online. And so one of the things that we did to promote ourselves was we started to explore a lot of these like very old social media technologies. And what was interesting is we were kind of, I wouldn't say first adopters, but we were like pretty early on in the evolution. And so I started having people reach out to me and say, hey, you're using these tools successfully. Can you give us some ideas or like some tips and tricks? Like, what do we need to be doing? And it was really interesting because I would just kind of give away the knowledge. And eventually, like it probably took way too long because I'm a little thick-headed sometimes. But I eventually realized like all of these people are coming to me. I could probably make some money at this. And so I actually started my first official social media company, V3 Creative, and did a lot of social media consulting. And in the early days, I really had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know, accounts payable, accounts receivable, how to figure out invoicing, things like that. But over time, I just kind of learned how to handle those aspects of the business while teaching people how to use these social media tools. And I mean, you'll remember there was kind of a land rush during this period of time where like everybody was introducing tools and everybody was trying to figure out ways to capitalize on this social media movement that has since become pervasive to our entire society. So that was really interesting. I did V3 Creative for a while. It was always kind of a side hustle. Moved here to Kansas City, launched Ideative Creative, which was my second creative agency. Over the course of time, I taught myself other marketing skills. So, web development and design, content marketing, those are kind of my specialties along with social. But so that's kind of where I started on the social media journey. And I've been doing it for so long that what's really interesting is like, I approach my life through the lens of social media. So I'm that really annoying person that like when we were having in-person events, I would go to events and I always had the camera out because you got to catch it for the gram, and I think it drives the people closest to me crazy because I always want to take the pictures, and capture the moment and figure out like, how can we share this on social?
Totally relatable. Totally relatable.
So that's kind of how it started. Like, that meme that's going around now, like how it started, how it's going. It's like, yeah, it's pretty much the same. I just really like social media.
Yes. I love hearing that story. I had no idea that you had actually started out doing the marketing or like the social type stuff before you moved into amplifying your business, your brand.
Yeah.
And, so that's interesting. But yes, I can totally relate because I'm the Insta Visco. Like I always need to be taking pictures.
Yep.
Drive my children crazy. And my husband sometimes he's like, can we just, is there ever anything that we could just do and you don't take a picture of it? Like, I don't need my life out there, all the time because he's always does social media already so much. But totally relatable.
So I have a really fun fact about me. So I have a really, really bad memory. Like I don't remember dates. I don't like half the time. So when we're talking like long-term memory, so social for me at a personal level was kind of a godsend because I would, I actually review my social media channels on a pretty regular basis because not only am I able to like look at a picture and see, oh yeah, I did do that. That was super fun, but because it's social media and it's not just a static picture, I can also tell my future self, what I was feeling and what I was thinking at the time. And so it's become like social media for me has almost become a live journaling experience where, someday when I'm 90 years old, I'm going to be able to look back on my life and just have this treasure trove of cool things that I did and people that I met and things that I saw. And like, it's been enormously satisfying for me. So you can call me an oversharer. I won't take offense. It works for me.
I don't think that at all. I think like originally like apps like Facebook and Instagram were actually supposed to be for that, not just to share it with your crowd, but for you to also keep it and look back at.
Yeah.
Like Facebook has that thing where you can actually grandfather it. When you pass, you can actually have it go to someone else so that like your children can see, things about your life. And
Right.
I love that. Like I will forget a lot of what happens in the past. Like your kids grow up, you forget when they're small. I love like a year later or 2 years later or 5 years later, those pictures pop up and you're like, I remember that moment. But if I hadn't have seen that picture, I wouldn't have remembered that moment.
Exactly.
And so I agree with you 100%. I'm totally in the same boat. So,
all right. Well, good to know I'm not alone. Thank you for sharing that part of your journey because it makes me feel a little bit better about mine.
I don't feel you're alone on. You're not alone on anything that you've said so far. I think it's all very relatable. I definitely can relate to what you're saying. So my memory's not that great either, and so having these little puppies to see, I have Kevin on there, my husband, but having these
I've seen him in the comments. He's like, they're legacy accounts. Like he's hi, Kevin.
Here's Kevin. He's in the background. He's with our team helping us run this today. He's an awesome guy. Very supportive. So, but yes, I call this my brain. This is my brain. So between social media, calendars, all of that, that's what keeps us going over here at Jade 29. So, all right. This is one of my favorites. So every superhero has a defining moment. something that happened to them where they're like, okay, I get it. I need to step up to the plate. So what is yours when it comes to life and career? And some people have more than one too.
Well, so I was gonna say, like, I saw this kind of. I was reading ahead. I was always that kid in school who like read ahead in the book. So I saw that and I was thinking about it, and yeah, like I'm sure that I have multiple defining moments. So the one that I would be kind of interested in talking about, it's a little tough. So is that okay?
Of course it is. Absolutely.
Okay.
Be free. Be free.
Okay. Here goes. So one of the things that kind of sparked my journey toward Innovate Her KC specifically. So I was working in a very heavily male dominated industry. I'm not going to disclose too many like details. But I was working in a very heavily male dominated industry, and there were a lot of awesome individuals that I worked with. They were great, but I had this boss, and he was not a very good person. And he and I didn't really get along. He would ask me to do things that were unethical or that I felt uncomfortable with. He would yell at my team and I would have to redirect him. They don't get paid enough to get yelled at by you. Come and yell at me. To the point where I had team members approaching me like on a pretty regular basis at like, do you want us to talk to somebody? Like, do you want us to call the EAP line? And I would come home and I would just be crying and just feel awful because every day I had to work very closely with this individual that we just did not get along. And I'm not a difficult person to get along with. And it was really tough. But as a woman, I felt like I was kind of carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Like, if I cry or if I get super emotional, am I going to be the reason in this very male dominated environment that another woman isn't hired because women are too emotional or because they can't handle the job? And so there was this feeling that I was emblematic or symbolic of all women. And so one day we were having a fight in the middle of a team meeting, and he called me a dumb C word. And I just broke. I was done. I stopped and I walked out of the room and I went home. And it was just the culmination of over a year of just this awful, toxic, terrible environment that I had been trying so hard not to like break under. And I finally broke. And so I go home and my boss's boss starts calling me, and he calls me for like 3 days straight, and I'm not picking up. And finally I'm in a mental place where I can pick up. I'm not proud of the fact that I walked out, by the way, but it was just something I had to do. But I finally pick up and I'm like, hey, I know you heard that this happened. There were witnesses. I can't do this anymore. What are you going to do about it? And his response was, oh, that's just, let's call him John Doe. Oh, that's just John Doe. You just know how he is. And I was like, okay, so that was the exact wrong response. I'm tendering my resignation effective immediately. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. And I spent the next few days collecting testimonies from some of my friends on the team. Like, they said that they would be willing to testify if it came to that. I got a lawyer. I sent a letter of intent for hostile work environment. And I say all of that. So they, of course, contacted me back. Things worked out very well in my favor. I got a pretty nice settlement without ever having to go to court or anything. But that being said, I say all of that to say this. I never wanted another woman to feel as alone and scared and angry as I did in those moments. And so from that point forward, and the other piece of that is I felt a deep sense of shame because I left my team. Like, I was their protector. I ran interference. I was like the one who kept them away from this person who was just not good for them. And so I abandoned them in that moment because I was just so frustrated and angry, and I couldn't handle it anymore. And so I felt this deep sense of shame. And so Innovate Her KC was born very much from a personal desire to protect other women, to help other women, and to support them and make sure that they never felt alone in their leadership journey. And that's really when I started getting interested in women's equity and how can we help? What do women need? Why is it difficult to be a woman in a leadership position? Because there are many women who have stories very similar to mine. How can we help them? So that's my hard story, but that is, I would say, probably one of the more defining moments that led me to the work that I do today.
That's awesome. I would like to say that this is just, me sitting in front of you in a coffee shop and just telling you, hey, did the right thing.
Ooh,
Right
in the course of years, like I've had to learn to be kind to myself because I really hate that I just walked out, and I really hate that but it's been the work that I do now is making up for it,
That's awesome. Yeah, because someone should never, I've definitely heard of those type of circumstances, and someone should never, ever have to endure that. It's, we both,
women.
exactly. We both know that that's not appropriate in a workplace, that it just should never happen. It should never have been in the first place. And then sometimes I know that this has nothing to do with what we're talking about on the show, but I listen to that and I go, there just comes a point where people can only handle so much. They shouldn't have to handle that in the first place. And then also, on a legal standpoint, if you had exploded instead of walking away, that could have been used against you.
Right.
But yet in the end, you still stood up for yourself and you still said, I am worth it and I don't deserve this type of treatment. And so I can't imagine being in that spot, but I just wanted you to know that, that it made perfect sense to me. And I'm glad that you did that.
Well, and I mean, in retrospect, I don't think I would trade it because it led me to what I do now. And what I do now is incredible. I'm so honored and so privileged to be able to do the work that I do, to do work that I love, that matters, that helps so many amazing women. I get to it's not about me, but I get to be the steward of something that has the potential to deeply touch people's lives. And so I don't think I would trade. Like, it was a real tough year. I'm not going to lie, but I don't think I would trade it.
But I love the fact that I feel Innovate Her can also say, you don't deserve to be treated that way. You don't have to endure that. I was in a situation like that, except I had a woman boss.
Oh,
and yes, it's very tough. And, the end result was actually a good one. I stood up for myself in a way that she doesn't even know what hit her, without knowing that it was even me. But justice was served in the situation, and it protected everybody else in the company.
Yeah.
And I think that there's ways to go about things where we can still stand up for ourselves and that we can see justice served, and whether it's changing our work environment or calling that person out, over their heads in court or whatever. We don't have to endure that. And so I love that about you and about Innovate Her KC and what you're doing for all these women.
Well,
awesome.
Well, and I want to say, like, thank you for sharing your story. Like, I see you and I honor the strength in you. And I mean, I think that there are so many people out there who, when they see injustice or when they see, difficult things happen, like the ones who step up and the ones who say something are the ones who change the world. So thank you for that.
I love that it made a difference in that place, because I loved the place. I loved the workplace. I loved the coworkers that I was with, but I couldn't work for that boss. And she was toxic, and she was hurting everybody in that work environment. Yeah. And so, let me just say there is a place for corporate offices. You know, I might not be the first to run to corporate, but there is a place for a corporate office if they're ran well. And so they took care of that situation for everybody, because no one else would say anything.
Applause
So,
to you.
yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
You did.
Yes. I'm very justice oriented. I absolutely, and I don't like to see anybody, man or woman, taken advantage of, but especially just empowering women to have that courage to say, hey, this isn't right. I don't have to put up with this, you know, whether it's legal, whether it's toxic, whether it's inappropriate. You know, let's step up, ladies. Let's call people out. Let's take the appropriate action, still in a respectful way, and say, this is enough. You know, I'm not gonna walk like this. I am deserving of so much more. I'm worth so much more. And so I love your defining moment. I love that. I'm gonna reflect on that for days. I'm gonna think about that. And yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to a hero, what are the attributes that you feel like define a hero?
So I love that question. And so I want to talk a little bit about courage. I think that was like the first thing that hopped into my head. So in the early days of Innovate Her KC, it was really weird to me. There was this like trend where members would say something about me, like in the community, and they would refer to me as their fearless leader. And I had to put the like stamp down on that pretty quickly, because the fact is, like, I've experienced fear every day in what I do. Like, is somebody going to get really mad at me and come up and punch me in the face at the next event I go to? Because, you know, what we do is sometimes polarizing. Am I going to be able to make my mortgage payment this month? Because, you know, sometimes the finances are shaky or uncertain. And, you know, I always have these questions. And so when people would refer to me as fearless leader, I would always say, don't call me that. Because somewhere out there, there is a person who is waiting until they feel fearless, or until they feel absence of fear, to shoot their shot, to take their chance. And the fact is, like, you're never going to get there. Like, if you are going to go out and become an entrepreneur or start something new, or, you know, lead a new initiative, if you're not scared of something, then you're doing it wrong. Because everybody has, you know, some sense of fear of the unknown, and there are always variables that you're not going to be able to control for. So if you're not feeling any fear, then I don't really know what to do with you. Are you a pod person? Are you a robot? Like, I don't know. So I think that
Exactly.
You know, courage is the ability to feel fear and go and do it anyway. And so I think that for me, courage is the defining characteristic of a hero. And courage can take many different forms. You know, I mean, I'm not saying like everybody needs to go out and jump in front of a bus to save the little kid riding his bike across the street. Like, not everybody has to do that. But yeah, you just work through it, and it's difficult. And sometimes it really, really sucks. But you just keep doing it, and you keep putting one foot in front of another, and eventually you're gonna get there. You're gonna get it to where you need to be. So courage is a big one for me. I do think that a hero experiences empathy. You know, when you are acting as a hero for someone, often that can take small forms. You know, hey, I empathize with your experience. You're struggling to open the door. Let me open it for you, because you got a bunch of stuff in your hands. I mean, being a hero doesn't have to be a big splashy thing. There are heroes who operate every single day, doing amazing things, but unsung things that we never hear about. So I don't know. I just, there are heroes everywhere. You just have to look for them.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times, actually, empathy opens the door for courage.
Yeah.
You stop looking at yourself and your fears, and you look at the situation, you say, somebody's got to step up and do something. And I have this feeling in my heart. It moves me. I need to do this. This is the right thing to do. I know as a child, me personally, I remember having a lot of fears and insecurities, but I knew that my reaction to them wasn't right. And so I worked for many years to do what was right despite how I felt, to put myself out there and change the shy little girl, or change the fearful little girl into something that she could respect herself.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love that you said empathy, because I think that's huge in humanity. And I think there needs to be a lot more of that right now. And I love the courage aspect. And that's something I also teach my kids is, in the face of fear, you still do the right thing. You still step out and do what you believe in. And Rebecca said, like you were saying, Rebecca was also saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And I like this comment: empathy is the place for innovation. I can make a difference for that person's problem. The courage to do it. Basically, you take the courage to do it and you have a hero.
Yeah. I do really quickly just want to call out Rebecca, actually, because she's my executive coach with Green Boat Coaching.
Okay.
And, so we often have these kinds of conversations, and she often helps me move through the fear. So thank you for that, Rebecca.
Awesome. Yeah. Sometimes it does take other people too to say, okay, this is your moment.
Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, who can help you through it. And I mean, Rebecca's one of those for me. I'm lucky. I've got a bunch, just amazing mentors and brilliant people who are they're my heroes, the people who are giving of their time and their resources, and, just help me help others.
That's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Well, then you're all heroes in my book.
Right? That's what I'm saying. They're everywhere.
Go ahead. Working together to help others. Sometimes it does take a tribe.
Yeah.
Especially when you're helping a lot of people. If it's one-on-one, like you just empathizing and helping one person, that's still very significant. But when it's one person and you're trying to help a bunch of people, it is nice to have that tribe.
A strong support network, people who either have experienced your journey or can relate to your journey in some way and can help you through it, whether that means giving advice or just being a shoulder to cry on. Like, I mean, I've had situations with Rebecca where I called her and I was just crying. I was like, can you just talk to me for a minute? And that's been amazing. That having that kind of relationship in my life, and in particular in my working life,
Absolutely. I know that in your field, in your line of work, you're going to hear all types of situations that women are in, and want to help every single one of them. So I know that has to be hard sometimes, carrying that, because anybody that's in leadership roles becomes counselors, teachers, that shoulder that people cry on. And I know, I can tell that you want to help everybody.
It's true. Like when you say like it's hard some of the times, I'm like, well, actually it's hard all of the time. Because I'm one person, and we're all one person, and we only have a finite amount of time, resources, and attention that we can give to everything. The good thing is I have a really amazing team surrounding me that, like, if I can't shoulder all of the burden, I'm able to say to them, hey, can you pick up this ball and run with it? And these are all amazing women who are committed, and they are ready to step in and help out. So I'm very lucky in that regard. Find your team. That would be, my advice there. Find your team and go and do good work. I think that's like from Parks and Rec. Maybe.
Yeah, I remember one time I decided, I was like, I love women so much, and I'm gonna, I decided I'm gonna start this or be a leader in a life group at my church. Okay. And so we get together and we all meet, and I'm like, this is really great. And then 1 week later, I was like, this is so much more work than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was getting into. Anytime you're dealing with other humans on any level, you have to deal with all the negatives and positives of those people. And as a leader, they come to you and say, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And you're like, I have no idea how to deal with it. Let's get you a licensed counselor. No, I'm semi-teasing, but yes, there's just so many different variables to that. There's some that are up here and able to support, and then there's some that need that support. And so find your team. So anyone who's listening today, find your team, find your supporters,
make it a good one.
and make it a good one. Find those people who can surround you, who are positive, who can step in when you can't carry the whole load. So if you had to pick one superhero, this is my second favorite question besides the defining moment. If you had to pick a superhero that you feel best relates to you, who would that be and why?
I have this actually, I'm like looking around my office because I find it weird that I don't have a representation of her. I have several books about her, but I don't think I have like any of I've got like keychains and stickers and Wonder Woman. Like I love her. I always have. She fights for what is right. She's all about justice. And she's very action oriented individual. I think she's super cool, and I want to be just like her when I grow up. And I want to have her bracelets. Like, she's got cool bracelets. So
I agree with that. I saw actually in GameStop the other day, I saw the whole set. They had everything, even the bracelets. And it was, it was
how
pretty
cool would it be to have a lasso of truth and be like, are you lying to me? You better not lie to me. That'd be amazing. I'm
going to wrap it around your body, and I'm going to find out what you're thinking.
Right. You're going to tell
me everything.
That's what I want. That's what I need one.
Hey, we need to innovate that. Let's figure it out. Anyway.
Let's start. We can develop that. I feel like we can do that.
Yes, we can find it. Hey, they've got AI now. We're going to figure this out. We'll just put science with AI and just put it all together. But yes, that was really cool. I think I've always heard of Wonder Woman growing up. And this last movie that they did, I don't know how you feel about the last movie, but I feel the character, the lady that played that role, really made me fall in love with her.
Yeah. Gal Gadot, she's one of my celebrity crushes, actually. And yeah, I liked the movie. And they've got another one coming out here in the not too distant future that I don't know how COVID has affected movie production schedules, but love the movies. I love the way she approaches the world, because it's always with truth and a sense of justice in her heart. And I can't say that I live up to Wonder Woman standards all the time, but that's kind of what I'm shooting for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, even if you didn't live up to it, if you don't feel that you live up to it, you're still stepping out and doing everything that's in your heart. And so to me, that's already living up to it. It doesn't matter what you feel when you're doing it. It matters that you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're making a difference. So I think in the movie they portrayed her with such a strong sense of justice that she seemed fearless.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
That's not most humans. I haven't met very many humans that have zero fear.
Most aren't impervious to bullets, so it makes sense.
Heaven makes fun of me because in a lot of these, I'm like, yes, and then she went like this as she walked across the battlefield, and he's like, you do that in every single show, and I'm like, but it's just so powerful.
Yeah.
No one else will step out and do it, and she goes, this is my moment.
Yeah.
This is what I've been waiting for.
We're gonna hop off this, and I'm gonna have to go watch Wonder Woman. Thank you for this. Like that. Now my afternoon is just shot.
It's over. You have to go watch it now.
It's a rainy Friday. It's okay.
That's right. Well, I tell you what, this has been amazing. I am so glad that I've gotten to spend some time with you today and just get to know you as a person. and learn more about you. So I'm looking forward to, after COVID, meeting up and just getting
Yes,
to know
please.
you more. And I'm excited. I'm excited about what you're doing. I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you have a great team. And so tell us real quick, how can our viewers follow you on which social media platforms are you on, and how can they get connected with you?
Well, so I'm going to start with Twitter, because I have to admit my Twitter usage is pretty anemic. I used to be really big on Twitter, and I just don't do it as much anymore. So we are on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We have both a public page and a private virtual community that any female identifying, or non-binary individual who feels comfortable in femme spaces are welcome to join. It's free to join. That's that low barrier to entry piece. So you can join the virtual community if you fall under those parameters. Like us on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and we've got a pretty strong presence on those 3 channels. Twitter is my shame. Don't judge me. I don't feel like it, so I don't.
I understand that completely. I go on there sometimes, but it's mostly just see political things, because there's certain people that like to Twitter a lot. So I'm like, what's going on in the world? Okay, let's jump on there. But otherwise, I'm not. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. So that's how you can. It's really not difficult to connect with us. I love connecting with people. If you'd like to connect further, my email is actually Lauren, LAUREN, at innovateherkc.com. So feel free to reach out.
Okay, and you're across every platform. I just want to clarify this for everybody. You're across every platform as Innovate Her KC.
Yes. Thanks,
So,
Kevin.
yes, thanks, Kevin. He's so awesome. What a supportive guy.
Love it.
So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Emerson, I just want to do a shout out. Ashish, Rebecca Cook, thank you so much. Leanne, I didn't get to call on you. I noticed you joined us today. Such an honor, all the way from Latvia. And Jeanette,
Awesome.
thank you guys. Yeah, thank you guys so much. And it's been such a pleasure, Lauren, again, to get to know you. And yeah, if you could stay on for a few minutes with me, I'd love to finish up after the show.
I'd love to. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. This has been really fun.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. See you guys.